Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name's Leigh Fuge, and in this video today we're going to be talking about this mini head from the guys at Hughes and Kettner. This is another one of the SPIRIT Nano series. This is the Spirit of Rock. So if you don't know what the SPIRIT Nano series is, please check the link in the top corner of this video. The SPIRIT Nano series is a series of 3 amps from the guys at Hughes and Kettner, all in the same mini head format. There's a vintage one, a rock one, which we've got in this video today, and there's a metal one. Each of these is a 25 watt amp, but it can drive 50 watts if you put it into a 4-ohm cabinet. So the Spirit of Rock, as you can imagine based on the name, is a rock amp. So this will take you everywhere from that sort of slightly crunchy British classic rock sound right up to some more saturated 80s and 90s rock kind of stuff. You're not going to get those sort of scooped heavy metal tones with this amp, but you are going to get some cool 80s metal style tones. So spec wise, like I said, this is 25 watts, but it does 50 watts if you put it into a 4-ohm cabinet. The amp layout is very simple. Master volume, we've got this sag control, which is really cool. When the sag control is all the way down, we get a real tight power amp response, and all the way up we get a sort of spongy compressed power amp response, kind of like a cranked valve amp. This is really cool for the feel of the amp because you can dial in the right amount of compression to the power stage and make it feel like a screaming tube amp. Single tone control and the gain control. Very self-explanatory. We've got an input on the front and a headphone out. The headphone out also has the Hughes and Kettner red box speaker emulation built into the output, so whenever you practice with headphones, it sounds like you're playing through a H&K speaker. On the rear of the unit, we've got a line out, so you can connect this straight to your interface and put this into your DAW. The interface does not have speaker emulation, so you can load up your own speaker IRs. Auxiliary in for playing along with backing tracks. We've got the power switch, which obviously is self-explanatory. The AES switch, which is like an auto power off, so if you forget to turn the amp off, as long as the AES is engaged, the amp will automatically turn off after 90 minutes. And we've got our speaker out. The speaker out works between 4 and 16 ohms. It'll drive 25 watts into 8 and 16, and it'll actually drive 50 watts into 4 ohms. So if you want to double the wattage of the amp, 4-ohm cab will take it up to 50. But I'm just going to be using a 25 watt for this demo. The amp is plugged into the cool amplification 1x12 you see behind me there, which is loaded with a Celestion creamback speaker, and the amp is mic'd up with a Lewitt Audio LCT 440 condenser microphone. The amp does not have any reverb of its own built in, so I'm going to be using the TC Electronics Hall of Fame Mini just for a little bit of ambient space when I'm playing as well. The guitar I'm going to be using in this video is my Shergold Provocateur SP01. This is a humbucker and P90 loaded guitar, so it's very great for those kind of classic rock and 80s rock riffs. Okay, so let's just start off by dialing everything straight up the middle to midnight. I've got the master volume very low. It's probably around about 1.5 or 2. So you can instantly hear this amp is great for that big classic rock stuff. So let's take the gain right down. Let's see how clean this thing can go. Now the gain, the sag and the master volume controls on these amps are super responsive with each other. So by turning the gain down, I'm actually dropping quite a bit of volume. So I'm going to push the sag up a little bit, which will add a bit of tube compression to the output stage, but it'll also boost the volume. And I'll also bring the master volume up just a touch as well. And I'm also going to use the neck P90 on the guitar just to get a little bit more single coil bite. So it's not super clean, there's a little bit of break up there. We could probably take the gain down a fraction more, bring the master up just to compensate. We could definitely get it a little bit cleaner with a single coil as well, so I'm going to split the coil on the bridge of this guitar and flip to the middle position. So you're probably not going to buy this amp to play funk with, but if you wanted to, you could. So let's put the gain now to sort of just above a quarter of the way and push the sag up. This is going to bring a bit more tube compression into the front end now, so this is going to react like a small cranked valve amp. Straight away that takes us into sort of like a crunchy late 60s, early 70s British rock kind of vibe. I like the addition of the extra sag there. Let's tighten that right up now and add a little bit more gain. So bringing the sag right down is going to really tighten up that power amp. There's going to be no sort of compression or sponginess to this at all. So with the sag all the way down, the response is just instant. There's no kind of sponginess at all to the power amp. To show the comparison, I'll put the sag all the way up. I'm going to turn the volume down a little bit just because it does boost the volume. So the way the amp feels with the sag all the way up changes as well. It kind of feels more like a fuzz. So I'm going to put the sag back now to about sort of maybe just over 3/4 of the way up. I'm going to push the gain up to just above halfway. Let's bring the tone back and see if we can get a real fat, warm classic rock sound. Perfect for those Sabbathy kind of riffs. Let's dial in a bit of a brighter tone though. So I'll bring the sag down to just above halfway. I'll push the gain as well. So let's push the gain to 3/4. So with the gain a bit higher, it starts to feel a little bit more fuzzy. Let's actually tighten that up by bringing the sag down now. So we start getting into some of those 80s rock tones there. We could probably make that a little bit brighter if we want to get into some more cutting sort of classic metal tones. that kind of takes us into the 80s sort of British new wave of heavy metal sound. Let's put the sag on about a quarter of the way up. It gets a bit noisy when you start pushing the gain a bit more. Push the gain all the way up though, and let's see what that sounds like. So that's where we definitely start to hit upon some of those fuzzier metal tones that kind of, like I said, does sort of feel like a fuzz pedal. If I want that to feel even more fuzzy, I can get that sag control on full as well as the gain. This is going to get a bit noisy now because I'm sat quite close to my computer, so my pickups are picking up a little bit of interference, but the amount of gain in the rock head is enough to generate a little bit of noise if you're playing at, you know, close proximity to the speakers. So as you can hear there, even though it's called the Spirit of Rock, you instantly think classic rock, but you know, you can do everything from kind of 60s blues right up to some crazy fuzz stuff like I did there with a little bit of new wave of British heavy metal thrown in for good measure. So I'm going to try and dial in one more tone. I'm going to try and dial in like an AC/DC kind of crunch. So I've got the master volume fairly low because I'm playing at home volume. Obviously this can go a lot louder. I want this to be quite tight, so the sag is only about a quarter of the way up. I've bumped the tone just to make it a bit brighter, but the gain is still pretty low. So we should have a very open sound here with a little bit of crunch at the top end. So there you go guys, there is the Hughes and Kettner Spirit of Rock. Like I said at the start, this is one of 3 brand new mini heads from Hughes and Kettner. They're out in the UK on the 11th of November, and they're going to retail around about the £180 mark. They're 25 watt or 50 watt into a 4-ohm cab. Pretty loud, a lot of cool tones in there. A fantastic pedalboard platform, or just a sort of set and forget amp. Obviously you can only dial in one tone on the amp, there's no channel switch in. So if you just need a good solid core tone, this will be fantastic, especially if you've got to travel light for a gig. These would also make fantastic backups. So if you ever have, you know, any problems with an amp on stage, you can keep one of these in your gig bag just in case the worst should ever happen to you. If you haven't already checked out the other amps in the range, please check those out. I've done a video on my channel introducing all 3, and there's also a video for each one of the amplifiers separately as well, where I deep dive and get a bunch more tones out of there. So please go check those out as well, and let me know what your favorite one is. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please let me know down below in the comments what your impressions are so far of the Hughes and Kettner Spirit Nano series. I'd love to hear what you guys think. And if you did enjoy the video, please scroll down and hit that subscribe button. Your subscriptions really help this channel to keep on growing. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.